The 50% rule states whatever rent you're getting for a property, approximately 50% of that rent is going to go to expenses. Only the other 50% is actual money that you're bringing in. Most people make the false assumption that if you take your rent and subtract the mortgage that you're paying, you now have your cash flow. Nothing could be further from the truth. That rent needs to be decreased by all the expenses that play into it. Now, what are all the expenses? 10% of that is property management. So the 50% assumes you're paying someone to do property management. If you want to do property management yourself, subtract that 10% and just take 40% for your expenses. Then you have maintenance and repairs. HOA needs to be figured in there. Property taxes and insurance need to go in too. Sometimes these are already tacked onto an escrow payment, but that is part of this 50% calculation. Vacancy can eat into your cash flow or eliminate your cash flow. If your rent's $2,000 a month, but you're vacant for 6 weeks, that's like a month and a half. The costs of your vacancy is $3,000 out of your pocket. You should have made $24,000 and you're making $21,000. The last thing that really eats into your cash flow that most people don't calculate for is something called capital expenditures. Those are large expenses that you only pay every 5, 10, 15, or 20 years. But when you pay them, they're really expensive. They could kill your cash flow for years, especially if your cash flow is tight and your money's tight.